Amandla. Amandla. Gwaza uMkhonto, gwaza. Jigijela uMkhonto, jigijela. Jigijela uMkhonto, jigijela. Viva President Zuma, viva. Long live President Zuma, long live. Long live President Zuma, long live. Amandla. Away to. Thank you very much, Sabanga Kakulu, Treasurer General Menzi Magubane, the head of presidency, the leadership of the province, the leadership of the region, the religious leaders that came here to open this very beautiful occasion organized by the region of eThekwini. So on behalf of the president, the head of presidency is here. He had communicated and the key messages that the president would have wanted to communicate here and mandated us on his behalf that we should speak on behalf of the National High Command and on behalf of the membership and followers of uMkhonto weSizwe party, that we should congratulate the region of eThekwini for taking the initiative without any assistance of the head office, of the national leadership, of the provincial leadership, of organizing a proper, decent fundraising gala dinner at this stage of the organization. So such is appreciated where you have leadership structures at all levels, taking initiatives in terms of the programs that seek to embolden, enhance, and harness the functioning of our organization. But also to take this opportunity to congratulate the region and the membership and the voting population of eThekwini for achieving one of the most important victories and numbers in the 2024 general elections. So if the 29th of May 2024 elections were local government elections, uMkhonto weSizwe would have won 75 out of the 111 wards here in the eThekwini region and had recorded upward of 600,000 votes, which is a very important achievement. So there would have been an outright victory. So if it was local government, there was not going to be confusion as to who leads the city of eThekwini. It was going to be uMkhonto weSizwe. And we would want to encourage the entire leadership and the membership of uMkhonto weSizwe here in eThekwini that let's defend the gains that were achieved on the 29th of May. That come 2026 local government elections, uMkhonto weSizwe must not just defend the 75 wards. We must win all the 111 wards of eThekwini to demonstrate that this is an organization that is here to stay. There are so many challenges that define the city of eThekwini, of a dysfunctional local government, of so many squabbles within the city of eThekwini, of suspensions, counter-suspensions, of instability, of lack of service delivery, of the neglect of the city center of Durban, which otherwise is supposed to be one of South Africa's biggest tourist attractions. But the irresponsibility and the negligence that is done by the leadership of eThekwini has led to the degeneration of the city of Durban, such that it is slowly but surely losing the status of being the biggest tourist attraction, not only here in KwaZulu-Natal, but in the entirety of South Africa. And such is unacceptable. So uMkhonto weSizwe must have to rescue this particular municipality and the city and reinstate it as the center of tourist attraction. Everything else that has to function in this city has to function. But also we should congratulate the entire leadership and the structures and members of uMkhonto weSizwe here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So using the same analogy, if we were to look into the 29 May 2024 elections, out of the 44 local municipalities and the 11 district municipalities, if these were local government elections in terms of the published results, and of course we are disputing the truthfulness of the results that have been published by the IEC, and will demonstrate far much more firmly that they did not reflect the will of the majority. But if we were to go by the results that were published by the independent or so-called independent electoral commission, uMkhonto weSizwe would have won 36 out of the 44 local municipalities outright, and would have been the leading party in 9 out of the 11 district municipalities. So only in Zululand where Nkanta was leading, but not with a decisive majority, and Gala where the ANC was leading, but also not with a decisive majority. There are, of course, some municipalities where uMkhonto weSizwe did not become #1 here in KwaZulu-Natal. That includes Ulundi for historical reasons, but I think that has to be changed as well, moving forward. And it includes Mthonjaneni. There is no reason why uMkhonto weSizwe did not become #1 in Mthonjaneni. There is no reason why uMkhonto weSizwe did not become #1 in the Big Five Hlabisa municipality there in Hluhluwe. There's no reason why uMkhonto weSizwe did not become #1 in Mzimkhulu, in Kokstad, and the other municipalities which there was no outright victory. But overall, the membership and the supporters of uMkhonto weSizwe did exceptionally well in terms of placing uMkhonto weSizwe at the center of the politics of KwaZulu-Natal. And it doesn't make sense now that uMkhonto weSizwe is not leading the province of KwaZulu-Natal. With more than 45% of the counted votes or the announced votes, it is illogical that the province of KwaZulu-Natal is not led by uMkhonto weSizwe party. Those who are leading there at 18 and 17%, they put up some very wobbly alliance of irreconcilable differences. They don't find each other as to what should be the agenda, what should be the developmental mandate for the people of KwaZulu-Natal. But uMkhonto weSizwe, which has got the overwhelming mandate of the people of KwaZulu-Natal, is not yet government. And we're saying it's not yet government because uMkhonto weSizwe is going to be government of KwaZulu-Natal before the end of the 7th administration. So that is guaranteed. And the head of presidency was saying in the press conference, which took place on the 11th of October, that KwaZulu-Natal is a liberated zone because we're going to constitute government. We've got a clear mandate, comrades, from the president, from President Zumas, that we can't celebrate and be overexcited that we have liberated just one corner of South Africa here in KwaZulu-Natal. We've got a clear mandate to establish uMkhonto weSizwe in all corners of South Africa and take over the entirety of South Africa so that we can establish a progressive government in 2026 and 2029. And we have assured President Zumas that we are going to do exactly that. We will never fail in establishing uMkhonto weSizwe in all corners of South Africa. And that is one of the issues that we should always highlight and celebrate. So uMkhonto weSizwe activists and ground forces and leaders in all the 11 regions here in KwaZulu-Natal, in Mkhanyakude, in Zululand, in King Tsatwayo, in Erigwala, in Mgungundlovu, here in eThekwini, in Ilembe, in Ugu, in Umzinyathi, in Amajuba. We will not be able to defend the gains that we have gained thus far if we become disunited. At the center of defending the gains that uMkhonto weSizwe has achieved thus far is unity within the organization. It's a purposeful attempt to unify all the progressive forces. And that is the agenda that we should pursue. We should shy away from the so-called parallel structures. We should constitute leadership structures that must be respected by all, so that when people look from outside, they should know that we have got a united organization that knows what it stands for and what it seeks to achieve. And that is the agenda that should define all of us. And you know, the most interesting and the most satisfying feature about President Zuma is that he has taken time to listen to all the comrades, to all the activists of uMkhonto weSizwe. He does not see any parallel structure. Anyone who approaches him, he says, let's listen to what are the concerns, what are the issues, what are the areas that we have to raise. And then he had said that let us now get to meet all the structures, to now explain the simple fact that we now have a constitution of uMkhonto weSizwe. And the constitution is going to unify all the structures of uMkhonto weSizwe. So anyone who will define themselves outside of the constitution will be defining themselves outside of uMkhonto weSizwe. There are so many key principles and objectives that are contained in the Constitution, which was adopted by the National High Command. And one of the things that we always highlight is that despite the fact and reality that before the Constitution was presented to the National High Command, President Zuma had individually gone each and every page of the Constitution, had got to interact with it in the national officials, which is the top 8 of uMkhonto weSizwe. He had very clear, definitive views as to what must be in the Constitution. But when we went to the National High Command, he said that by the time we leave this meeting, every one of us must be fully satisfied, must be fully content that we own up and we understand what is in the Constitution of uMkhonto weSizwe, so that all of us are able to defend it when we go out there. The meeting was scheduled to take place for 2 days. He said, let's extend, if it means we extend for the entire week, let's do so. So that by the time we get out of here, we should all of us be unified as to what do we seek to achieve, what do we present to the people of South Africa. Of course, the Constitution has got so many sections that normally must be in a Constitution. But just want to pull out some of the key issues that come out of that Constitution. The principles and values of uMkhonto weSizwe Party. What are the principles that guide uMkhonto weSizwe Party? So the main principle in the organization which is contained in the Constitution is Ubuntu, Butu. That umuntu ngumutu ngabantu. That is at the center of the agenda that uMkhonto weSizwe is in pursuit of. That discourages self-seeking agendas, self-enrichment agenda, or self-aggrandizement agenda where you think that you are more important than everyone else. That is what is at the center of the agenda. And it also emphasizes on the principle of humility, that all of us must demonstrate genuine humility. In private, in public, everywhere we are, whenever we articulate whatever position, all of us must be humble as activists, as members of uMkhonto weSizwe. You know, this, I'm sure Abafundise will know this, that in the Bible it also says that if you want to be uplifted, you need to humble yourself first. So at the foundational principles of uMkhonto weSizwe is the humility that comes with Ubuntu. And that is what uMkhonto weSizwe is all about. The other principle is the principle of unity in action. That, so the entire Constitution, if there's a word that appears more times than any other word in the Constitution of uMkhonto weSizwe, is the word unity and unification of the progressive forces. Because President Zuma makes a very simple illustration that the colonial settlers and their descendants, those who still preside over us now economically, politically, socially, culturally, by any means, they are a very small minority in the population of South Africa. The white colonial settlers have always been a minority, but how did they get to conquer all of us? Because they fought us in small groups. The colonial settlements in the whole of South Africa, there was never a time where we fought against colonialism as a unified whole. We fought as small groups, as clans. And then they had the superiority of guns and arms to conquer all of us. And then once they had conquered us as small groups, they then unified us and said that we are your rulers. And since the advent of colonialism, we are still under colonial conquest. You know, there was a huge debate in the National High Command where someone was saying, we must not use conquest because conquest means that we are defeated forever. And President Zuma says that let us admit that we are still conquered by the colonial settlers and their descendants. Because they still control the economy. They still have the majority share of the land. They still control and dictate over our culture. They are dominant in every sphere of society. An attempt to fight against the colonial conquest, they always encounter challenges. But we must tell our people that we are still in a space of conquest so that we can ready ourselves to fight against the colonial conquests that define us. But for us to achieve that victory against colonial settlers, we need to be united. The former liberation movement, the South African Natives National Congress, which was launched on the 8th of January 1912, was an attempt to unite all the people to fight against colonial settlements and conquest. But now the establishment seemed to have gotten hold of a fighting instrument in the hands of our people, the ANC. And then it says that uMkhonto weSizwe has to be a platform that unites all the progressive forces. If your ideology is to believe in the Congress movement, in the Freedom Charter, you are welcome in uMkhonto weSizwe. If your ideology and beliefs and politics are associated with the Pan-Africanist of Azania politics or Pan-Africanism in general, you are welcome in uMkhonto weSizwe. If your ideological outlook is associated with black consciousness, you are welcome in uMkhonto weSizwe. If you think that the immediate aim is economic freedom in our lifetime, you are welcome in uMkhonto weSizwe. That all the progressive forces must be united. The only requirement is that all of us must be united on the anti-colonial, anti-apartheid, anti-racist agenda which is going to bring back our land, which is going to bring back our natural resources, our economy, so that we can run the economy for the benefit of the indigenous and black people. That is at the agenda at the center of uMkhonto weSizwe politics. So unity is at the center, is the defining future of the politics of uMkhonto weSizwe. And that is what we seek to achieve. And if you want to unite people, your conduct, the manner in which you conduct your politics, must demonstrate that you are really genuine about the unification of the people. The type of language that you use, the manner in which you relate with people inside the organization and outside the organization will determine whether you are at the center of unification of our people. That is why one of the values in the constitution of uMkhonto weSizwe is honesty and respect. Honesty to say that you must not tell lies and you must not claim easy victories. You must not make commitments on things that you cannot fulfill. And when you have made commitments, you must make sure that you fulfill those commitments. And if you have failed to do so, you must go back to the people to explain what happened. And in terms of respect, he emphasizes that let us not insult anyone, including political opponents, even when they provoke us. That you can't call yourself an activist, a leader, a member of uMkhonto weSizwe, and when you are given a platform, you want to speak about the body parts of other people's leaders. And you want to speak about their intellectual capacity. What will uMkhonto weSizwe gain if we were to, every time we speak, we say, no, these ones are stupid. This one is a dumb cop. And then later on, we want to unify these people behind one agenda. And you're talking about adults with children, characterizing them with all sorts of names. And later on, you say, no, as black progressive forces, we must unite. And these are the people that you must talk to. So uMkhonto weSizwe is founded on the principle of respect. And what is good about this principle is that it also finds expression in the code of conduct as well, that it will be a disciplinary issue to disrespect any person, even a general member of the public. You are not allowed. That is what defines the organization. The other principle is the organic form of representation, that all activists, all leaders of uMkhonto weSizwe must be organic, must be guided by familiarity, by knowledge of what is happening in their communities. So you can't be in the legislature or in parliament and then you go to say in your speech that, no, according to the Daily Sun or according to Statistics South Africa, there is no water in Mhlabalingana and Jozini and Mtubatuba. When you speak, you must be making a proper relatable story that I was in Mtubatuba yesterday, I was in Tabisa yesterday, I was in this area and I know the people do not have water. You should speak with authority on things that you know, not things that you have read in social media. That is the organic nature and character that we should build of uMkhonto weSizwe. The other principle and value is the principle of meritocracy and knowledgeability, that as leaders we should be knowledgeable. We should understand what we stand for. We should know the areas where we come from, so that we are able to provide proper solutions. Comrades, we are going to be doing a lot of induction and constant discussions about the politics of uMkhonto weSizwe. So we had started the program in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, and then the president says, no, you can't continue with those programs because I want to be part of these provincial programs as well. Because some people might think that you are just speaking yourselves and representing yourselves. I want to be the one who comes to all the provinces to explain the constitution of uMkhonto weSizwe. So that those who say, no, we only listen to Obaba must listen from me and hear that this is what I'm saying. And there is none of the sections that I mistake in this constitution. You know, when the first draft of the constitution was drafted, Viva MK Youth League, Viva. So, when the first draft was presented, the proposal on the MK Youth League was 14 to 35, similar to Wagogo. And the president says, tell me what defines youth? Do you want a 14-year-old and a 35-year-old to belong in one organization, which is a preparatory school? How are they relatable? Because majority of people above the age of 30, they are fully established adults with children and many other obligations and responsibilities. And he says that we as uMkhonto weSizwe, we are not getting what are the voices of the youth now. We are not getting clearly what is the political agenda of the generation we call Ma 2000. Because they don't have a political voice. And naturally, if you group them in one organization with people who are far much older, who are 20 years older than them, the ones who are older than them will be dominant because they've got experience. Let's create a youth organization which will express the interest and aspirations of young people in a true form. That is the guidance that we got to receive. When President Zuma was 20 years old, he was a fully fledged freedom fighter. He was sent to Robben Island at the age of 20. Before he was 35, he was in the National Executive Committee of the ANC, in exile. And then he says that perhaps we made a mistake as those of us who came from exile, because when we came back, we said that youth is up until the age of 35, and then you have got adults who are above 30 towards 35 behaving like they are young people when they are not young people. When they are supposed to take full responsibility of the struggles of our people. Go and check what was the age of Thomas Sankara when he led Burkina Faso. Go and check at what age did Steve Biko die. Go and check all the revolutionary activists. So there is absolutely, we had a different view because we believed that it is supposed to be in uMkhonto weSizwe like it is in other organizations. And through proper political, ideological guidance, we all came to the conclusion that uMkhonto weSizwe Youth League must be closed at the age of 30. And that was the guidance of the president. And there is no one who is going to create any other fictional explanation. Those who are in the National High Command will tell you. And those who came to say they are seeking explanation, he said, let us meet outside. The former Youth League convener from Lower South Coast, from Ugu, was there. He explained the whole day to say, he even asked, how many of you have got children? And everyone else was raising their hand then. So let's stop any imagination that there was some conspiracy to exclude people. There's no conspiracy, it's a political discussion. And a political conclusion raised within political context as to what kind of a youth movement do we need in uMkhonto weSizwe. The other issue, comrades, is that there is purposefully no conference, elective conference, in the constitution of uMkhonto weSizwe. Because we know the nature and character of conferences thus far. They are used as instruments of division. They are used as instruments to buy political parties and their direction. And President Zumas says that this organization is not for sale. We know that when you call a conference, they're going to sponsor candidates who are going to preside over you because they have accommodated people in fancy hotels and so on and so forth, like try to confuse them. Before you know it, they will be changing the agenda of uMkhonto weSizwe. They will be asking, what is this thing that we need the land? Can't we just raise money somewhere and go and buy the land? It says to protect the integrity of the organization. Let's move away from these elective conferences because the experience thus far is that conferences are used for wrong purposes. And we do not want to be trapped in such wrong purposes and agenda. We need to have a progressive organization. So some of the people on social media, for instance, were saying, why is President of uMkhonto weSizwe having so much powers? Do you know the powers of the president in this constitution as compared to the powers which he had as a head of state and president is nothing. As head of state and president, he had the power to appoint all ministers, the power to appoint all directors general, the power to appoint all judges, to even appoint and nominate a constitutional court head, the chief justice, the power to appoint army generals, the power to go to war without consulting anyone. Why would we distrust President Zuma with just administrative powers of appointing provincial conveners and coordinators? When we know that he has got the experience, he has always utilized political power responsibly. So it's not a mistake that everything else that is in this constitution is not a mistake, it's a well-thought process as to what is to be achieved. And there are so many things, comrades, which we'll give proper narrative and explanation of, which many people do not get to appreciate. It speaks here about the economic sovereignty. When President Zuma was president and head of state, and sometimes some of us were even misled, he understood that for a country to have full economic sovereignty or independence, you need to have energy sovereignty in terms of where is the source of your energy. Against all odds, he attempted to come with a nuclear build project, which there is nothing wrong with a nuclear build project. Nuclear is the cleanest source of energy, is the most reliable, is the cheapest source of energy. What was not properly explained by those who were leading that project is that the South African government did not have to spend a single cent on that project. We're supposed to engage in something called Build, Operate and Transfer, where those who have got the capacity to build a nuclear power station could build, operate it for a period of time, sell electricity to the state at the cheapest rate, and later on transfer it to the ownership of the state. But all sorts of voices were mobilized against that, such that we do not have total energy sovereignty. Independent power producers are being force-fed into South Africa. One of the things, by the way, as part of attaining energy sovereignty, was a decision which he had directed to buy engine. You know, this engine, the global company which gives fuel and petrol. He had given a directive that Petro SA must take over engine, which was going to protect the fuel sovereignty of South Africa. But because the establishment did not agree with that, they rubbished President Zuma. No. But also those who were around him were unable to explain to society that this is a correct progressive agenda that we must pursue. So throughout, we should not be ashamed, and we should speak boldly in terms of all the areas that got to happen. The Treasurer General reminds me that we are now going too deep into political discussion, and this is a fundraising dinner. So the fundraising dinner is that we appreciate and really cherish the contributions which the business community and everyone is giving to uMkhonto weSizwe. Went to elections without resources. Even now, there can be a claim that uMkhonto weSizwe has got a lot of resources. There still has to be establishment of the provincial office, of regional offices, and it will be sensible that here in eThekwini, outside of the regional office, there must be a point of contact at sub-regional level. There has to be a functional office of uMkhonto weSizwe in uMlazi, in KwaMashu, in Inanda, in Hammersdale, in all corners of eThekwini, where the membership will be able to interact with the leadership of uMkhonto weSizwe. And all of that will require resources. So I would imagine that the leadership of the region, so if some of the donors cannot manage to give you money in cash, they can donate in kind and say, can I take care of rental of this office for the next 12 or 24 months? Can I take care of the following functions? Can I buy a buggy or transport so that the volunteers on the ground are able to move from point A to B? So we will appreciate that, because whatever happens, come rain, sunshine, thunderstorms, uMkhonto weSizwe is going to lead the government of eThekwini alone. And will do so in a responsible, responsive way, which will improve the lives of our people. So comrades, those are the few words which were mandated to talk about on behalf of the National High Command, on behalf of the President and Commander General of uMkhonto weSizwe Party. Thank you very much, Siyabonga.